In this video, I'm going to be looking at S&T number 174, Indo-Pakistani Wars, and this is a design by Joe Miranda. Basically, it covers these wars in 1965, 1971, as well as some hypothetical potential 1990s or later scenarios. And the map is split, so you have a western map and an eastern map, and there's not much interchange between the two. If the units are on the western map, that's where they are. If the eastern map, that's where they are. So it's a little bit of an asymmetrical situation. The scale is 30 kilometers per hex, so it's fairly operational. The time scale is a turn is 2 days worth of time. Our regiment or brigade are the basic units. There are divisions and air groups. And so an air group is 3 squadrons, which is what is represented by the counter. So this game is unique because it basically has the one counter mix. But depending on whether it's 1965, 1971, or the 90s, there are different capabilities over time. And one of the ways this is handled is by C3I. There's a chart that shows the degree of C3I, and one of the way that's affected is during the turn. If you're at the level 1, you can only do 1 impulse per turn. If you're level 2, you get 2 impulses per turn. And level 3, you get 3 impulses per turn. So there can be a lot more activity within that same 1 to 2 day time frame, depending on your C3I ability. There are a raft of different types of units in this game. I'll just mention a few here. You have armor and recon and mechanized, infantry, marine, airborne, mountain, special ops, guerrilla, paramilitary, attack helicopter, air mobile, mechanized, airborne infantry, air supply, marine, amphibious, air defense, surface-to-surface missiles, depots, amphibious supply, air supply, general support. And then for air, you get tactical fighters, you have advanced technology first-line fighters, you have a naval carrier base, strategic long-range bombers, stealth, and task force, naval task force. So not depending on the scenario, the 1990s scenarios will you employ a lot more of the different types of units. So anyway, that's kind of what you get. The victory points are mostly awarded by capturing objectives that have a different value depending on which side captures and holds it. The elimination of enemy forces gives you victory points, and then certain actions, like if, for example, if India pulls air units off the China border to use in this theater, it costs them victory points. So things like that happen as well. So I'm going to be going through the 1965 scenario, which basically saw fighting going on the Kashmir frontier, as well as in East Pakistan. So basically that's what we've got. The air forces are unique here. Pakistan has an elite air force, but it's much smaller than India. But India has a large air force, but it's all spread out. So the air forces end up starting on opposite maps. So they both basically have air superiority on one on the west map, one on the east. But India has the capability of having air superiority wherever they want if they pay the points and bring their air force in from the China border, but that's going to cost politically. And so anyway, we'll go down to the map and take a look at this game. So it's September 1st and 2nd, 1965, and the commander of the Pakistani forces in the west orders the Azad Kashmir 23rd Infantry Division to close in on the Indian-held city of Jammu in Indian Kashmir. The Pakistani 5th Armored Division and the 5th Armored Brigade move to the south of the city Lahore, and the Pakistani Air Force is called in to perform an airstrike against the Indian brigade at Jammu, and they succeed in disrupting the target. So in 1965, the ground attack aircraft were the B-57 Canberras. For some reason, I think they were made by Britain, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, they succeed in disrupting the target, so the 23rd Infantry Division follows up with an attack against the paramilitary brigade, which is destroyed. And I do believe the airstrike made the difference in this case. Now, the Indian forces don't have any air support on the Western map. It's on the border with China. Now, I can bring them in, but it costs me victory points to bring those extra units in because India does have a larger air force than Pakistan. Pakistan has a very elite, well-trained air force, but India is diverted with their attention with the border with China. So my Indian aircraft are actually in the east map. So that's why Pakistan's able to make these airstrikes. Anyway, the 23rd Division was left disrupted, but I was able to restore the morale. Then the Indian commander quickly sends a militia brigade into Jammu, while the 5th Mountain Division is moved by rail just to the area northeast of the city. And then in East Pakistan, the 10th Infantry Division attacks the Pakistani militia brigade in the town of Jasora. And there's an unoccupied Pakistani air base located there. So the militia brigade is completely dispersed by this attack, and the 10th Infantry Division captures Jasori and the air base. Now we move on to turn 2. It's September 3rd and 4th, and the Pakistani Air Force devotes another airstrike mission to the Indian garrison at Jammu, but this time it fails to inflict any significant damage on the enemy units. Nonetheless, the 23rd Azad Kashmir Division and the Pakistani 16th Division join forces, and they push the militia out of the city, and Jammu falls to the 23rd Infantry Division. And I'll note this city is worth 10 victory points to the Pakistanis, so this was a good effort. Meanwhile, in East Pakistan, on the other part of the map, the Indian forces are pouring into the country and capturing territory, and some units are moving toward the town of Kushita on the Ganges River. The Indian 3rd Mountain Division moves to the town of Firozapur to confront the Azad paramilitary unit there, which is threatening the flank of the Indian forces on the west map. Then the Pakistani Air Force attempts to intervene by sending aircraft against the 2 mountain divisions, and the airstrike is actually successful against the Indian 3rd Mountain, and it becomes disrupted. And no further operations are carried out. Now we go to turn 3. It's September 5th and 6th of 1965, and we have the Pakistanis are pushing on with their invasion of Kashmir and attacking the militia troops along the road north of Jammu. And the Indian brigade here is heavily outnumbered. And although the militia brigade is lost, it did redeem itself well because it left the Pakistani 16th Infantry Division disrupted. And it's not going to recover quickly from this. Then in East Pakistan, the Indian Army attempts to cross the Ganges River by launching a large-scale mission with 4 infantry divisions. And both Pakistani paramilitary brigades that are defending are eliminated. And an Indian brigade captures and occupies the East Pakistani town of Kolna. Then in the west map, the 3rd Mountain Division at Fazura rallies from its prior disruption. And Dhaka is presently held by the Pakistani 106 Infantry Brigade, as well as some other units. It's a key city in Pakistan. I believe we're on turn 4. It's September 7th and 8th of 1965, and the Pakistani Air Force orders 2 airstrikes against the Indian forces in Fazilra and in the mountains outside of Jammu. And both attempts to dislodge the enemy here fail. Again, I'm commenting that the Indian Air Force is unable to respond to these raids on the Western map because all of these units for this area have been diverted and tied up with the border of China. And as the Chinese player, I've decided to not to relinquish the necessary victory points to release them. So, consequently, the 16th Infantry Division in Jammu is able to restore its morale. Then an Indian militia brigade in East Pakistan captures the town of Fardipur, which sits right along the Ganges River. Also, the Indian 8th and 27th Infantry Divisions cross the Jamuna River in East Pakistan. And then the Pakistani Air Forces calls in a ground support mission in order to preempt an attack by the 3rd Mountain Division near Fazilra. So, the Indian commander doesn't like the looks of it, so he calls off the attack. So, successful use of the Pakistani air. Now we go to turn 5, September 9th and 10th of 1965, and the Pakistani guerrilla units in Kashmir start moving in on the Indian militia brigade, which is the garrison force in the Kashmir city of Srinagar. So the Pakistani aircraft provide some close support, and the air defense has no effect here, and the aircraft join the ground forces in the attack. So the defenders end up melting away, and the Azad Kashmir guerrilla forces overcome the city of Srinagar. In East Pakistan, 4 Indian infantry divisions start closing in on Dhaka, and also the Indian 51st Airborne Division parachutes to the Sadpur Kushida Railroad in order to cover the rear flank of these divisions. And these airborne units are flown in primarily by AN-12 aircraft. I believe they're Russian made, and they do have some Dakotas as well, but that's how they are being airdropped. And the 51st Airborne is an elite unit. In the West map, the Indian 1st Armored and the 2nd Infantry appear to be poised for an attack against the Pakistani city of Lahore, and the Pakistan Air Force is sent to intercept and provide some ground support if necessary. But nonetheless, the Indian Army launches a heavy attack against Lahore with both of these divisions and some support from the 9th Infantry and the 1st Armored Brigade. But the Pakistani air support has had an effect here, and in the end, the Pakistani 5th Infantry Division manages to stall the attackers and maintain control of the city. We go to the next turn, the 11th and 12th of September of 1965, and 2 Pakistani armored units, which are north of Jammu, are pulled back into the city so that they can refit. And the aircraft that I've had on previous missions in the Lahore sector are returned and are refit. Then in East Pakistan, the Indian 1st Airmobile Infantry Brigade lands in Kamilla in order to cover the flank of the attacking corps. And I'll mention that these airmobile units were not really using helicopters in 1965. They were mostly in, again, Dakota aircraft and AN-12 aircraft, landing them into the areas where they can get them into. However, the 8th and 10th Infantry Divisions continue to close in on Dhaka from the northeast, and then the 27th and the 57th Infantry Divisions are advancing on this city from the northwest. So Dhaka appears to be doomed, from what I can tell. The Indian forces are holding back, though. They're waiting just for the right time to strike. And I will just add, unfortunately for the Indians, the Pakistani government has their main supply center not here in Dhaka. It is in Chittagong, which is away from the trouble, at least at this moment. But it does leave Dhaka and the garrisons in very sore straits for supply. We go on to September 13th and 14th, and Dhaka is being held fairly strongly by the Pakistani 9th Infantry, but they are out of supply and they are soon to fall, I think. In the Western Theater, the Pakistani commander is implementing steps to protect Multan from a potential thrust. The Indian mountain divisions are moving in on them and have crossed the border a couple of days ago. So trying to get some protection for this city at this moment. And then in Dhaka, the forces are feeling the effects of their low supply and isolation. And the Indian Corps launches a heavy attack, which forces the Pakistani 9th Division to flee the city. And with them goes the 106th Infantry Brigade and the militia forces. So Dhaka falls to the Indian Army. That's a victory point capture for them. And then the 4th Mountain Division at the town of Pethankot, which is on the western map, recovers its morale. The Indian 9th, which is near Firozpur, also returns to effective condition. So India is starting to really stabilize and get the upper hand here. We go to the 15th and 16th of September, and the Pakistani army is stunned at hearing the news from the Eastern Theater of the loss of Dhaka. So the commander doubles down on his plans for his gains in the Kashmir region. So further operations are basically awaiting the restoration of my armored division to its effective status. The Pakistani 9th Infantry now has its back against the Kisara River, just southeast of Dhaka, and are facing the Indian 10th Division, which leads an all-out attack on these beleaguered forces. So the 10th Division absorbs some heavy losses, but the attack is a complete success. The Pakistani 9th is lost, the 106th Brigade is lost, and the paramilitary brigade as well. So flushed with victory and fresh supplies, the 10th Division quickly recovers from its losses. Now we go to September 17th and 18th, and the Pakistani commander orders the 23rd Infantry to move into Indian Kashmir toward the city of Srinagar. The 5th Armored Brigade finally recovers its combat effectiveness, and then in East Pakistan, the 1st Air Mobile Brigade lands in Dhaka, and this is going to hold the city and allow the main Indian Army to continue its trek along the railroad to Chittagong, which is their next objective. In the Western Theater, the 1st Armored finally recovers its combat effectiveness. We go to September 19th and 20th, and the Pakistani Air Force launches an airstrike against the armored units in Amritsar, but it has no effect, so the Indian troops are unharmed. But despite all of this, nothing significant really occurs other than the Indian forces are continuing to garrison the towns that are conquered in East Pakistan. These are all victory points, you know. We go to September 21 and 22 of 1965, and I sent the Pakistani Air Force out again for another airstrike mission against the Indian Armored Division in Amritsar, and this does succeed in disabling the units, so that's a win for Pakistan. The Indian Army, however, in East Pakistan launches an attack against the militia in Chittagong. The Indian 8th and 10th Divisions lead this attack, and the strike is an overwhelming success. The supply center is overrun, and completely disrupted, and the Pakistani militia brigade becomes disabled and is forced to bug out of the city. So the Indian 8th and 10th Divisions that then capture Chittagong, another important victory point location. Now we go to the 23rd and 24th of September 1965, and I'm just going to say basically the war is over here. The Pakistanis who started the war have gained 3 victory points from enemy losses, but the Indians have collected 11 victory points. Also, the Indian Army occupies Dhaka and Chittagong for 26 victory points. And additionally, the Indian Army holds 7 towns in East Pakistan, so that's 33 total victory points. The Pakistani forces do hold both of the Kashmir cities, Jammu and Srinagar, and 23 victory points total. Plus, they have 3 Kashmir towns for 29 victory points. So the Indians have a +4 advantage here when everything's tallied up. And on the victory point check, even though the Indians came out a little bit ahead, it's basically is a stalemate. And both sides are going to claim victory, propaganda victory. And then, of course, the stage is set for another scenario in this game, the 1971 war. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for other content on this channel, and I hope you all have a great day.